Welcome to the Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup Week 11 highlight show. Two big pairs in this group, Shaun, Storry and Chris Day are both Ultimate Pool pros. Jack Whelan and Callum Singleton. Jack is an Ultimate Pool pro and an Ultimate Pool Pro Series champion. Callum is the leading challenger and will be a pro for next year. Also in the group, Gaz Royds and Dave Stock, Neil Davey and Jimmy Gillespie for what promises to be a cracking night. So on to our first match then. It is Day and Storry versus Royds and Stock.
One of our very own directors, Zach Leonard, directors here at Ultimate Pool, knows these two lads very, very well. Prominent member of the Wigan local league scene. His claim to fame is he actually beat one of these once. But they've got a good start, and as we've heard before, and we'll hear no doubt again, the key to that particular 8-ball scene in this country is Wigan lads go game. That's what we've been told, that's what we're here to expect. I don't think we're going to see anything different in this opening frame. Red's the choice for Royds and Stock.
And they should go game. They are all there for them. They mentioned it, they're not coming in here with, they know the situation, they know they're the underdogs, but also that makes them dangerous. Almost takes pressure off themselves. Come out here, just express themselves, have some fun, enjoy it. And you could take down some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, they come on as big underdogs tonight, certainly on paper, but as we've seen, the form book has been ripped up plenty of times in this tournament, of all tournaments. Reminder for those who may not have seen us before in the Pairs Cup, all 4 pairs tonight will play each other in a round-robin format. Races to 4 or 0 on the clock, whichever comes first. Matches are 20 minutes long, or 2-4. It's a nice shot there. And the top of the pile, come the end of the night, will be qualified through into the next stage of the Pairs Cup. It's something that Shaun, Storry and Chris Day achieved last year. So too did Neil Davey, so too did Jack Whelan. I think it's the first time in this year's competition that we've had 3 elements of different pairs who all made it through to the next stage in last season's iteration. If we are level, come the end of the night, on the table, we'll see a 6-red shootout to decide who goes through. First miss, first blink, and it comes from the Wigan boys.
Yeah, the miss is a big surprise, but that was the whole visit was always going to come down to that one shot. They had to pick a gap. They had 2 ways of going, but the gap wasn't massive, especially when you're nervous in first frame and everything else, and all the attention was on the gap, and you missed the pot. Shaun, Storry and Chris Day are going to be the big pairing, one of the big pairings tonight, obviously, with everything they've achieved. But I think they're one of the most dangerous partnerships in the whole competition. I think one thing we've seen in this year's event is that players that are very comfortable with each other, really good friends off the table, great players on the table, they go so well in this event. And these 2 guys are good friends. They do practice well together, practice a lot together, and they will be prepared for every eventuality. And if it needs to go to a 6-red shootout, then they'll be ready for that.
Oh yeah. I don't think anyone has practiced the 6-red shootout more than Shaun, Storry and Chris Day, although Dom Cooney and Luke Gilbert might rival that.
Well, Shaun has the best record in terms of most number of wins in a 6-red shootout. Came through one at the weekend in the Players' Championship. His only ever loss, I mentioned it on the interview, was to Chris Day.
It was in the Champions last year, wasn't it, when they played each other? Chris getting to the final of that event. Brand new as an Ultimate Pool professional for this season, Chris Day won an event on the Challenger Series last year to secure his promotion. And I think it's fairly safe to say he's found it pretty tough at times, but it is tough. I mean, that's the important thing to remember. It's an incredibly tough school. Those prelims are ruthless, and Chris has found his way on either side of them.
Yeah, it is a really tough school, and it almost become, it's difficult because everybody plays to such a high level, and Chris does as well, but sometimes you go into matches and you don't do a lot wrong and you end up on the wrong side of them, and it almost becomes a habit to finish on the wrong side of them and also the right side of them. And Shaun Storry is the opposite because he's on the right side of all those results at the moment. He hasn't played his best this year. He's the first to admit it, but he keeps finishing on the right side of results, and he keeps going deeper and deeper into events.
But that's what he does.
Yeah.
And that is, for me, the the X factor in autopilot. Great cueist, good pattern, all the things you'd want in a pool player are there, but his big X factor, the thing that puts him apart from others, is his stickability, his mentality is absolutely elite. Chris Day gets the job done, punches in the 8-ball, and Storry and Day are off to a flyer.
Shaun Storry then won the second frame. We joined Chris Day at the table in frame 3 after running the clock down.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a clinic from Chris and Shaun this. Welcome to Big School, boys.
Chris could go now. Chris could go. He's got this one to the right centre. He could go now, start potting balls, use up a huge amount of the clock.
Yeah, because that's the alternative, right? You can sort of feather up and make your opponent play shot after shot after shot of no consequence to keep the clock ticking over, or you can pop balls and keep them off the table altogether.
Yeah, and he can do it with an element of control in terms of he can take this on, and if he doesn't finish where he wants
Great
to
shot.
after a few shots, he could pull back. You've still got the 8-ball in trouble. The yellows would need a lot of work. He's not going to make it easy for his opponent here.
We know as well that Chris is a very competent player on the shot clock. Plays it, practices with it. One of the few players who we know for a fact practices on the shot clock, plays with it, and gets himself very used to playing on the beeps. Look how composed he is with 2 seconds left.
Just
Wasn't a foul, and he's barely even flickered.
yeah, no reaction at all, was it? He's not in a great position here. I would have thought he would have wanted to get on the one. Assuming the one by the 8-ball doesn't pass the other one, I would have thought he would have wanted to get on the one to the just above it earlier and then leave another one in the middle of the table to then connect to the one by the 8-ball later on in the visit. So he's kind of put a lot of pressure on this next positional shot.
You say that though, there's only 90 seconds left.
But yeah, he's doing it for that reason. Yeah, he's potting the open ones and taking it as deep as he can.
And he'll have a shot.
He's a long way short here. A long way short. He may have the natural to pot this and flick the other one out, but it's a tough pot. Oh, he's not tried to flick it out. He's just potting the ball, but now this is, well, he's nowhere here. He's going to leave a chance unless he comes up with a miracle shot. But it's the 2 frames ahead that's the key.
Has he got a miracle shot in store for us? Come on, CD. Not quite.
I'll tell you what, that's as close as it gets to a time foul. He timed it absolutely to perfection.
So 38 seconds for Gazroy to clear these up. Needs to, if he's going to have any chance. Next break is Day's and Storry's as well in the Scotch frame. So they're massive odds against here.
Beautiful shot, that one.
That's a hell of a shot. Doesn't it just go to show what is capable of our players when the pressure's off a little bit? Gazroy knows here that he's just got to fly around. He's massive odds against to win the match at this stage. What a shot he played!
Yeah, and he might well take it into the break. I don't think it's going to make any difference.
Yeah, win yourself a frame though, Gaz 8. Yeah, great finish, well done.
But the clock doesn't stop till the cue ball stops, so it will be match.
It will be match. Shaun Storry and Chris Day do get over the line. A tactical masterclass from Autopilot and CD to get them 2 points on the board.
On to match 2 then. Davey and Gillespie versus Singleton and Whelan. And it was the latter that made the better start, winning a Scotch opening frame in it with a break clearance before Neil Davey responded with one of his own in the next to make it 1-1. We joined Jack Whelan with a chance in frame 3.
He certainly had a look at it.
He's definitely going. Oh, can he screw into this? He's left. There is a little bit of angle at the top. Yeah, he is trying to screw into it. The only reason I'm saying pull back is because you've got an opponent who has not touched the table yet. You don't know what form he's in, and he's got a messy old table to go at. Oh, he's missed the one to the top corner.
Yeah, tough shot that. You can see how much he had to force it.
I guess the reason for not pulling back is that there was no good safety on, so you were always going to leave a chance, so therefore you're taking a gamble, and top players are just trained to, you know, keep going because they expect their opponents to clear up.
Yeah, if you're going to pull back, you pull back at the start. It's difficult to pull back when you've only got 3 reds on the table. So Jimmy Gillespie, what can you do from here? The good news on yellows is, yes, it looks very, very congested, but they're all around each other. You can make little cannons and make something happen if you need to.
Yeah, and he could play yellow off yellow in the middle, into the right middle, and open everything up by doing it that way. So the yellow that he's going to play this off then goes up, and it just moves everything a fraction, opens everything out.
Don't expect Jimmy to miss many balls. A 147 maker on the snooker table.
Oh, he's gone the other way. He's tried to go up and down into it, and that was harder to get right for me.
He also didn't factor in where's your next ball coming from.
If you're going to play into it that way, for me, you do it as early as you possibly can. He's waited too long.
So he got the kick shot on, or the double rather, into the top left.
Yeah, he can make the double. Cue ball would be going into the red. And he doesn't need to chase it. And I like that Neil getting up and having a quick word.
Yeah, Neil Davey is definitely the more experienced pool player. Jimmy's a brilliant potter and will certainly back himself in most situations, but Neil is the more experienced player in this form of the game. He's more than welcome to go up and involve the conversation. Well, the double was attempted, red ball is potted. He'd have been still in with a massive ask.
He's
If
left
he'd
Jack
made
on
the
this.
ball, and he's left Jack on the red here to the bottom left. Yeah, the inquest begins, but that was tough.
Could have left everything really congested there and just turned the table back over and tried to draw it out. Took a bit of a gamble taking that double on. Good news, bad news. Good pot. No control of the cue ball.
Used to double himself, but cue ball and red are very close together. This makes it tricky.
Very tricky.
Lose the frame if you miss it. And he has missed it. It's a very un-Jack Whelan couple of shots there.
I think the yellow slides by the 8 ball, as we see Gareth Potts watching on. Very good friends with Jack Whelan. Often turns up when Jack's playing.
Saw Gareth playing with Mark Selby a few weeks ago. Not too sure how the groups are going to line up come the second stage of the Pairs Cup, but a decent chance that winner of this group will meet the Potts-Selby duo in the second stage.
Singleton and Whelan responded with a reverse clearance in the next. Jack has the break in frame 5.
Jack Whelan absolutely fries that one again. This is such a curious little reaction on this break, because if you just watch this, you'll see it here. Watch how quickly the cue ball comes off. Almost goes back quicker than it went forward.
Yeah, it's quicker than he normally has it react as well. It's really zipping back off the pack. Really timing that break well. A little bit similar to the previous one, actually. A little bit awkward to finish. Problems in a few areas. Unlike the opening frame of the match. So got the red by the yellow at the top of the table. Red by the yellow on the right-hand side. One on the right's a little bit easier. Does go top right, but getting on it is difficult. Looks like he was just giving it a little consideration for the double, but for me it's the one right at the top of the table that's the biggest problem. Not sure if he can play this red off the red there, but I'm not sure it helps anyway. And has it helped? It's difficult to say. I think he's got half a pocket.
Now then. It's a massive frame in the match as well.
Yeah, absolutely huge. And for Neil, it's all about the yellow.
Jack will be screwing. He's missed that.
Yeah, I was just going to say Neil's yellow by the right-hand centre pocket. I'm not sure if his effort was there to try and develop it or not, but that's the one. You've got the one just below the right centre pocket as well. Less of a problem, but still needs work. I think Neil fancies this one down to the bottom right-hand corner. That's tough. Big shot if he takes it on.
Oh, that was tough. He's not in the worst position because Reds now, with that yellow going where it has, Reds are really awkward.
Yeah, and Jack's got to be very careful because that's opened up all the yellows. Neil was taking that on, but he's had a good result from it.
He's got to play a really good shot here.
Yeah, there's nowhere to play here. I mean, getting short position is, so difficult. And what else is he going to do? He's gone for the short position, but this needs to travel, and travel a lot.
Oh, the line really wasn't bad, but he's about 5 or 6 inches short.
Well, this could well put Singleton and Whelan in a huge amount of trouble. Look at that match clock, 1:40.
Needs to take the yellow off the table if he can. Oh, it's not a bad result,
No, it's gone too far.
Oh,
he's gone too far. You can see it. You can see it. And actually, these are all on now. This is for Neil Davey. This is take your time. 1:30, just under. 5 pots. Get yourself down into the sort of 30-second range here and get yourself one in front with the break. That's the key, with the break.
Massive, massive chance for Singleton and Whelan here to lose their first match.
Many people's favourites for tonight.
Takes a look at the shot clock, look at the match clock, composes himself. He could use every second here, Neil Davey. He does just about. Cue ball's fine, he'll keep that running. That's a little bit clever as well. 20 seconds or so, maybe 19 left.
Just the job.
That will do it. He might have to play one single shot. He's not going to play it in any great rush. And Neil Davey doesn't even have to. Extension call, that'll do it. Neil Davey and Jimmy Gillespie have beaten Jack Whelan and Callum Singleton. An upset in the opening round of the Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup.
Singleton and Whelan were straight back in action against Royds and Stock.
Forced to stew following that match they've just had. Neil Davey and Jimmy Gillespie putting them to the wayside in their first match of the night. And now they've got to find a way to get back on track, and they will come to the table first.
Yeah, they have to keep believing. Keep believing, win their next 2 matches, and you never know. It could be enough. They need other results to go their way, but it's got that sort of feel to it, this group, that could well see everyone beating everyone and some sort of 6-red shootout at the end of the night. The disappointing thing for Singleton and Jack in particular is the fact that Jack had a couple of chances there. He took on big finishes, didn't make them. And when he's in full flow, those are sort of finishes he does manage to pull out. So it's not as though they didn't get the opportunities to win the first match.
Yeah, in mitigation, though, they were very, very tough opportunities.
Yeah.
But that's the standard these lads set.
So there's one red in the bottom half of the table that's awkward as Shaun and Chris watch on.
Isotonic sports drink, I'm sure, for Shaun Storry.
It's just when and how they try and get on the red, just to the right below the 8 ball. Wonder, does it go? It does go left centre. There you go. You can see where Callum is putting his finger now. That's where you want to get to. You've got the angle to do so. And Callum's put the cue ball exactly where he put his finger.
Well, it's no surprise to see Callum Singleton looking so sharp. He was in pretty rude form this weekend on this table for many an hour in the Players' Championships. And I haven't really touched on it too much tonight, but the environment does take some getting used to out there. It is lightning quick, very sort of unique playing environment. And that's where we give the likes of Royds and Stock, who are playing on it for the very first time, a fair bit of length really on, you know, the understanding that they might not settle straight away. But for Callum Singleton, doesn't have to worry about that. He looks razor sharp.
Callum Singleton and Jack Whelan won the next 2 singles frames to move 3-0 ahead.
Look at that. They are just coming awkward. It's one of those nights for Jack Whelan.
Yeah, he might, I don't know, could he take something off it maybe? Just a small percentage, just mix it up a little bit. I mean, it's hard to be critical. He's breaking with huge power, he's making a ball, but they're coming out messy for him each time.
Yeah, this is horrible.
That one almost bounced off the pack. You made the point, it's the cue ball screwing off the pack so quick, quicker than we're used to seeing.
Red ball's in play.
They have made the clearance in every single Scotch frame they've played so far tonight. This is their 4th. And eyeing up another one here. Red obviously around the yellows in the middle of the table is difficult. I'm not sure if there's enough room. Well, I think that tells us there is to pot it.
Oh yeah, you'll do. Lovely. Yeah, I like quality stuff, this.
Hard to get good position on the next ball, though. You're going to leave loads of angle. That's why he's had to power it to come down. If you just play middle of the table, and they have come awkward here, but if you just play middle of the table, then you're too thin on the one to the bottom left. You can't hold for the one to the bottom right. So had to really force the angle to come round, and that's why they're in a little bit of trouble here. So it'll be the tricky plant, but the red will be going safe off it.
Oh, they've been lucky they've left the double. They've had a rub there. Oh, bang. And then it's Callum Singleton's turn to leave Jack Whelan a smelly 8-ball.
Yeah.
Revenge for match number 1, frame number 1.
He's looking at all options here, but looks like the right centre.
Shot. Jack Whelan and Callum Singleton, Bagel, Gaz and Dave. And a good performance, a much needed performance from Callum Singleton and Jack Whelan. They are on the boards and they still are very much in with a shout.
On to the always crucial match 4 between the winners of our opening 2 games.
It's Chris Day on the break then to get us back going. And that is going to be dry. So to the table will come Neil Davey and Jimmy Gillespie with a spring in their step.
As always, this is the biggest match of the night. Match 4, when the 2 winners play each other. The winner of this match marches on, has qualification in their own hands. The loser then needs other results to go their way. And you look at the rest of the group. Obviously coming into tonight, we obviously had 2 very big pairings. So Jack Whelan and Callum Singleton, having lost to Davey and Gillespie here, it actually is to their advantage to see Shaun and Chris win this one. So then they know that if they beat them in the final match, they would be in a shootout with them, because that's the only pair they can have any effect on from here on in.
Just saw Jack actually a moment ago in the break. And break being the operative word. So what's going on with your break, Jack? Hitting them well, but splits you're leaving are horrendous. We're having a giggle in the commentary box. And he said, well, glad someone is.
Yeah, you won't be enjoying them.
It's been a lovely finish so far from Davey and Gillespie. They've looked really solid out there, you know.
Yeah, they worked these through nicely. You see Neil there just looking through the gap. He could play it now. I think ideally he'd like to get rid of the one to the right centre, then play the one top left, and then you're pretty much home free. But you may have just a shade too much angle to do that. That's why they're having a little conversation about it. Still think you can pinch the pocket enough, and the table's so reactive. You pop that in the sort of straighter side of the pocket and screw the cue ball back, you'd be in good shape. But they're going to leave it in the middle of the table.
Got a few options here.
I think they should go long.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it was their original plan, but they should from where they finished. There's so much more margin of position going this way.
Oh, that's a huge surprise. He's going to fluke it. No. Jimmy Gillespie. Didn't expect him to miss a shot like that.
Yeah, big error. Wasn't expecting that at all.
So a massive chance then for Storry and Day to get on the board.
Shouldn't have any issues mopping up from here. As I say every week, get fascinated by seeing how players interact, especially in Scotch frames. These two players do play a huge amount together, practice together. And they talk about the game a lot as well. And I already mentioned that Shaun's very analytical about the game, and he would have spent a lot of time talking with Chris about different aspects, different ways, different thought processes. So we're sort of seeing some of that play out here.
Top yellow could just become a very marginal problem for them if they don't get the shot they're about to play. Next, right. Just got a glimpse there of Keith Warren, who we saw earlier on in the tournament in the Pairs Cup, another stalwart from the Q Club. He's supporting Team Davey and Gillespie tonight. Yeah, easy enough. Cool, calm and clinical from Chris Day and Shaun Storry. They look the business tonight. Very tidily done.
Shaun Storry also won the next frame to make it 2-0. Chris Day has the break in frame 3.
He's got a variety of breaks as well. Oh, this one he hits so much better.
Still dry. Oh no, he's going to get one top left. And look at this for a split. Look at these.
Yeah, these might not take too long. If he goes reds, and I expect him to go reds, then just red on the right-hand side, just to think about getting on it and what you're going to get on afterwards. No future on yellows, simply because he doesn't have a yellow to go at.
Reds do look fairly routine as well.
They do indeed, yeah. No, yeah. Reds are by far the better colour set. This was the only ball for me that you needed to give consideration to, and he's straight after it. He's on it as nicely as he could be with an angle where he can just control things from here. Helps if the one below the 8 ball goes top left.
Yeah, I think it does. Well, every time I see a different angle on the camera, I just think it doesn't. And then I think it does again.
Hopefully, Chris has more clue than we do.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
There you go.
Yeah,
Comfortably
sails in.
goes.
Sails in.
Just helps with the route, helps with the pattern. He's worked these through really nicely. Such a good break.
Yeah, you can't wish for a better split than that, really, at this level.
Don't think he played that one particularly well.
Yeah, he looks almost betwixt in between here.
Yeah,
He should still be absolutely fine, but he's all of a sudden just got to play a shot.
Yeah, straight in on this one to the right centre, and he's pretty much free because then he can clip in the top, and it's easy to track into the middle. Now he's got pace control 2 shots. I mean, he's still got all the room in the world on that, but wanted it a little bit easier.
As we hear from our referee, Orich Tesgel, he introduces the 15-second shot clock. Good to see Aussie back out there.
Yeah, it is indeed. Very smooth from Chris Day.
Yeah, and it has been all night.
Davey and Gillespie did pull one back in the next, but it was too little too late. They now need to win their final game to have any chance of going through, and they won the opening frame versus Royds and Stock.
Last 2 tournaments.
A very reasonable. He doesn't even need to win an event potentially at that ranking to qualify. But it's when you put that sort of in perspective. Number 64 doesn't sound like much, but he's in the top 25%. It's a brutal, brutal field.
That was very close to a golden duck.
It really was. Now then, can Gaz Royds just get his pairing going tonight? They've struggled at times. I like the way he's worked out this top of the table. That's nice.
Yep, it's good. Just the key here, isn't it? The transition down the table, because you're going to need a good angle on one of those two yellows down the table to play short position on the one by the 8 ball, because I don't know whether that yellow passes the 8 ball. But the one to, if you can land left centre here fairly straight, then you've got, he's gone the other way, he's going to go bottom right here. That tells me that yellow by the 8 ball must pass the 8 ball, but it looks tight.
Yeah.
Because I would want to use the one to the right centre as the ball. The one he's playing now, playing to right centre to get onto that one.
Where's he going across the table here to land on it? He is. It seems like a tougher shot than it needed to be, maybe.
Yeah, it's just seen a different way round of getting to the same area of the table.
Oh, he could hold the cue ball as well. That's all right. It's well played. Thought he might just have a fraction too much angle there, but he's absolutely perfect. Well worked out. From Gaz Royds, gets the job done and ties it up.
Royds and Stock won the next as well to go ahead.
It's a nod of the head from Simon Webb. It's a nod of the head.
I think we're a good chance for a three-way six-red shootout. I think it's not, you know, sometimes we look at the last match and it could be, you know, one of the underdogs against, you know, the favourites.
You're certainly looking at that on paper and think it's a coin flip game.
Exactly, it's a coin flip game in this sort of format, but for it to be a three-way version, then Davey and Gillespie need to do their part, and they need to come up with 2 frames in the next 4 minutes, 20 seconds.
Yeah, of course it can be a two-way six-red shootout tonight. If Singleton and Whelan win, they are in a six-red shootout. If Davey and Gillespie don't, they are out.
And that shot is not going to help Davey and Gillespie.
Oh, well, that's certainly not going to help him. That is certainly not going to help him. Jimmy Gillespie, just at times tonight, has got his head fried a little bit. And it is so understandable. How many times have we seen it on this table?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good a cueist you are, how well you can do in other tournaments and other areas. It's so different out there.
Oh, back to the table they come. Can they manufacture anything? Wants that to drop. It does.
That's a good shot.
Some shot that from Dave Stock. He's found his rhythm, it looks like.
Now they have a look to see whether the plant goes. It looks like it's set to the near jaw. It's whether they can squeeze it in or not.
God, what a shot.
And they developed the plant, which you could see there. It was set on that near jaw and wouldn't have gone, so needed to do that. They haven't landed on the next ball. It's a little bit unlucky there, the way they played that.
Really unlucky. Can
Oh,
they
can
still
he just
get the plant?
by? He could still get to the plant. Yellow's tracking. That'll do.
Yeah,
that'll
they'll
work.
take that all day. Oh, Gazroyd and Dave Stock, are they about to play party pooper?
Yeah, and this is off the back of, I thought, Neil Davey playing a very good safety shot, but he just sort of left a sighter at the top of the table, and they've grabbed it and run with it.
Wigan boys go game side. We've been told this.
They do. They do.
And they have gone here. And they have gone nuclear in this frame. This will be somehow if they can get it. And they're on. Taplin and Neil Davey, all respect from him. But they're running out of time. Over in that corner. That'll do. 8 ball for 3-1. And it will leave Davey and Gillespie clinging on the cliff edge with their fingernails. And cling they must, because Gazroyd and Dave Stock are close to getting their first victory of the night.
And that would be enough for the win as the clock ran out in the next frame. On to our last game of the evening then.
It all comes down to this. Our final match of the night. Chris Day and Shaun Storry versus Callum Singleton and Jack Whelan. 3 ultimate pool professionals and 1 in waiting. High quality wherever you look across the arena in this one. Last ball roll in for Chris Day. Shaun Storry leaps up out of his chair like a salmon. And they can get to work. They hold the aces coming into this final game. They've won both their matches. All they need to do is avoid defeat. They essentially start a frame up, which in a race to 4 is important. Callum Singleton and Jack Whelan must win. If they do, they will force a 6-red shootout, and that will decide the night. Neil Davey and Jimmy Gillespie are out following that defeat in the last match to Gazroyd and Dave Stock. All right then, that's all the admin out of the way. Now we get to strap in and enjoy it, because this one should be a quality affair.
It should, and you mentioned it there. You know, they essentially start a frame up. You know, having the draw is such a big advantage. And if they can win the opening frame with a break clearance, you're really putting Singleton and Whelan under huge pressure to respond. Well, Shaun's telling him exactly where he wants to be.
And the thing is, these two practice together so often, they're such close friends that they will know each other's games inside out. They won't really need to be much chatter, and there hasn't been really all through the night, but because they're such close friends, they're not afraid of having that chatter and maybe that tough discussion if they need to have it.
Well, this is what they do when they're away at tournaments and when they're at home practicing. They'll talk about the game, they analyse the game, so they kind of, they'll play, a tournament, or they'll watch each other playing in tournaments, and then they'll review it, analyse it. Did I go the right way there? Did I go the wrong way? Could I have done something different? And they sort of talk about the patterns. So it's interesting to see them play together because it's just continuing that conversation. Shaun's just come up a shade short on this one. He can't just, I don't know if he can just drop it in and hold. If it might have a shade too much angle and would get too close to that yellow. If that's the case, then he'll have to use the top cushion, play the stun shot, and try not to get too much into it and flick the red. He's played into the yellow because of it, and that's, well, I was about to say that could have gone wrong. It looked like the yellow was going to go too far towards the top cushion, but Shaun tapping the table tells us he's very comfortable where we are, and there you go. See on the overhead, it's fine.
Very close to not being.
I thought if he had to play, if he couldn't hold, I thought he'd play the gap and just play on and off the top cushion. But played into it. Could have gone wrong. It was risky, but it's worked.
Yeah, that'll do. One nil. God, those breaks tonight.
Yeah, dry as well.
It's amazing, really.
He's had the cue ball plumb down the middle on every single one. First one that's dry. I think all the others he's been making balls but leaving awkward splits. This time the split's pretty good. It's just whether Shaun can get past the yellow to put a red to the top of the table. The reds are really nice here. The way he's lining these up, I think he can. Even if he has to flick cushion first, he can play this and get out. Yeah, he's cushion first. You saw that there. Next couple of shots are delicate, but doable. Always difficult when they're that close together, and a stretch as well to sort of control the cue ball. I think he'll take the result. Looks like he wants to screw right down the table here. More pace you put into this, the more precise you need to be, but he's so perfectly behind it. He should be absolutely fine. When he played the screw shot down the table, he was putting himself right in the mix where he would have had choices, and this is a good way of going. It means he can get on the 8 ball easy enough into the left centre pocket. So 3 balls away from 2-0. Remember, they get the draw. They're through with the draw, so starting to take it away from Jack and Callum here.
Well, considering they basically started a frame up, being 2-0 up, it looks a long way back already.
Chris Day ran the clock down beautifully in the next frame whilst winning it to put him and Shaun Storry on the edge of qualifying.
Of Mark Williams. The Ultimate Pool Pro Series is looking a little bit spicy, to say the very least, for 2023. Jack Whelan throws his hands up in the air, and if that doesn't sum up his breaks tonight, I'm not sure what will. He has caught them with a sledgehammer, and somehow it's come up dry, and look at the split that he's left. Every time he's made a ball, the splits have been horrific.
Yeah.
It's just been one of those.
I think that's as hard as I've ever seen Jack Whelan hit the pack. He gave that absolutely everything. He still controlled the cue ball. Thought the 8 ball was going to fly in. Felt like he was going to make a ton of balls there. And in the end, he comes up dry and hands the table over with a great chance to Day and Storry, although they've not done a particularly good job with the first shot there. So now the chance they've got is very difficult. But they can run the clock down significantly here. Tried to hide the white behind the red at the top of the table whilst playing the loss of turn shot. They haven't. So just about enough time for a twist, but needed the double plant to go. I think Jack and Callum now know the game is up.
Oh, Chris Day took just too much of a liberty.
There's 2 cue balls on the table all of a sudden, but yeah, Chris has been taking it as deep as you possibly can on the shot clock, and that time he went too far.
Well,
is that a foul as well or not? Foul's not been called. Did anything hit a cushion there? Well, it's not been called. I wasn't sure. It was difficult to tell, but there was so much going on. Yellow cue ball was nearly in. Yellow to the bottom right was nearly in. I don't think it mattered. Well, it doesn't matter essentially because cue ball in hand wouldn't have changed the fact they've got a really easy run out on reds to the 8 ball, and having cue ball in hand wouldn't make getting that 8 ball out any easier. But 3 more pots to the 8 ball. They'll give themselves worst way a double at it, and the clock will be gone. Been a very good night's pool from Shaun and Chris. The way they've really thought about things and controlled, I think is the right way to put it. They controlled their matches. They controlled their thought processes.
The control's been so key. They've never really looked in danger, and especially in this match. The match that was most important, the match that was their toughest match on paper. And they've never really looked in too much threat.
I'm surprised he's gone so far up. Looks like he's going for the combination shot here. I'd have thought he'd just stunned it in and played the double. This is tough.
No, it just ties it up. There's no way to make that yellow. They knew what they were doing. And that'll do it. That is that. The concession comes in from Singleton and Whelan. And what a super performance from Shaun Storry and Chris Day. Simply awesome. In control from minute 1 to 0 on the clock.
So Shaun Storry and Chris Day move through to the second stage of the competition. Next up for us next week, it is week 12. Greg Batten is the only Ultimate Pool professional in the group, but he will be partnered by Jez Graham, one of the leading players in the Challenger Series, who will be a professional next year. Up against them, Andrew Bartlett, Ed Cunneyworth, Luke Bowery and Adam Toms, Ben Swinnerton and Pat Ward in what promises to be another cracking night from the Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup. Make sure you join us on Monday at 6:30 on Ultimate Pool TV or Free Sports, and I'll be back next week for another roundup of all the action. I'll see you then.